Morgan Freeman, who was nominated for an Oscar in 1988, plays Clark in a performance of Lean on Me that is forceful and persistent, making it all the more worrisome. Despite having worked as a teacher for over 20 years, he has never quite fit in. With his unwavering faith in his judgment, indifference to the opinions of others, and harsh demeanor, it's understandable why his spouse left him and why he only has one friend. As an administrator, he shoots first and doesn't ask questions afterwards. He's sort of the Dirty Harry of the Paterson, New Jersey, educational system. Lean on Me opens with a brief sequence showing Clark starting out at a well-run East Side High in the 1960s, alienating his principal and being transferred out. It continues 20 years later, with Clark more or less happily teaching in a good school in a nice neighborhood. Then we get an updated look at East Side High, which has become the town's deeply troubled, mostly minority high school, where violence, drug dealing and intimidation are facts of life, and little or no learning takes place. John Avildsen, the director, is so concerned with showing us the hell of East Side High that he goes overboard. The corridors look like a cross between a prison riot and a Hell's Angel rally. There obviously is only one man capable of turning this situation around, and so crazier Joe Clark is brought back to East Side. His first act is to call an all-school assembly, gather all the druggies and troublemakers on stage, and expel them en masse. Then he begins to stalk the school corridors, enforcing his own reign of terror. He orders all of the graffiti painted over. Fine. He orders everyone to learn the school song, on pain of expulsion. Sort of fine. He suspends a teacher for daring to stoop over and pick up a piece of scrap paper while Clark was talking. Not fine. He insults teachers in front of students, behaves in an erratic and irrational way, and conducts himself like an autocratic dictator. Bad. This is a seriously troubled man. As the movie progresses, we wait for Clark to undergo a personality change, to soften, to grow, to start learning to respect the right of other people to have an opinion. But with the exception of one half-hearted apology, Clark never does change. He is an arrogant bully, a martinet who demands instant, unquestioning obedience. Yes, he does clean up East Side High. And yes, the students are able to pass a state proficiency exam, so the school can remain under local control and not be taken over by the state. But we never see how this is done. Stand and Deliver, last year's film about a dedicated Hispanic math teacher, was about a teaching and learning process. Lean on Me is about a disciplinary process. The movie's most bizarre scene has Clark on stage at a pre-exam pep rally, ranting and raving and leading the school song, as if the test were a football game. But you can't pass a test simply because your spirits are high. And I am not convinced that any kind of meaningful learning can take place under Clark's reign of public humiliation. Discipline is not the same thing as intimidation. Lean on Me has been widely sneak previewed as part of the studio's marketing strategy, and I've talked with a lot of the people who have seen it. They all admit they're bothered by Clark's personality. But some argue that A, Clark really exists, so this is a true story. B, out-of-control high schools like East Side need a strong administrator to whip them into shape. And C, besides, Hollywood makes so few films like this that it's a duty to support them, no matter what we really think. I've already replied to the first argument. The third is beneath contempt. But it is true that tough schools need mad dog teachers. One of the sneaky, uneasy feelings I got while watching Lean on Me is that the movie makes a subtle appeal to those who are afraid of unruly, loud, violent black teenagers.
Yes, you do.
As Clark takes a baseball bat and begins to whip them into shape, at one point even physically fighting a student, the audience is cheered, not because education is being served, but because Clark is a combination of Dirty Harry and Billy Jack, enforcing the law on his own terms.
What are you doing? What's up here?
Now, let me tell you something. The trouble with being a teenager is you don't know nothing. The problem with teenagers is you think you're smarter than people who've already been down the road you're traveling. You know what I'm trying to say to you, boy?